We just watched what quite possibly could be the biggest catastrophe for a championship in the history of NASCAR, which flies directly in the face of what Steve Phelps said today. So let's jump into it. Next. This is via Jeff Gluck on Twitter from the State of the NASCAR address or whatever. Steve Phelps says NASCAR has the best racing in the world, the most competitive racing in the world. As far as the people who think the playoffs are gimmicky, it's not. It's an incredible playoff system that rewards the best drivers in the sport. It rewards the best drivers in the sport. This system we have right now rewards the best drivers in the sport, where one race determines the champion. And we just saw tonight with the Truck Series, Corey Heim was probably going to win this race. Carson Hocevar makes contact with him, another playoff driver. Carson Hocevar makes contact with him, crumples up the right side of his car. Carson Hocevar falls back. Corey Heim's truck is never the same. I know I just called it a car, but it's late. And then Grant Enfinger gets in the lead. And there's about 6 laps to go. Looks like Grant Enfinger is going to hold off Ben Rhodes for the win, or at least we're going to get a good race to see who wins this race, wins this championship. And then Corey Heim, realizing he can't win, decides to drop back and pay back Carson Hocevar. So that brings out what ends up being I don't even know how many cautions with the last 6 laps of this race. Multiple green-white checkers. And basically every truck going for the championship has some type of massive damage on it. A lot of people were excited at the end of the race because it was a close finish, sort of, for the championship. I don't fall into that category. I'm not even going to let NASCAR bail itself out with that, because I think this was literally every single thing that is wrong with the NASCAR championship system. And just about every driver at some point tweeted out how this was a joke or a dumpster fire, including Denny Hamlin, who had this to say about it. This is what happens when there's no rules, no officiating. You get a product like this. The show has taken over U.S. motorsports and why it's hard to take it seriously. And I wholeheartedly agree with that, because if you look at why they have this system in place now, it was to create excitement, to create Game 7 moments. When your system to determine a champion should be mainly focused on determining a champion, like a true champion of the sport that season, not just to create some manufactured Game 7 type moment. And it was really exposed today. And, I mean, Ben Rhodes is the champion. Like, I hate saying this if you want to call him the champion. Because, like, this was the most... I can't even find the words for it. It was so bad. Like, and no disrespect to Ben Rhodes. Like, he did what he had to do. He survived the race. But, like, is he really the champion? Like, is he really the best driver this season? Is there any way, shape, or form other than, like, letter of the law, this is NASCAR system, where anybody would actually, in a logical sense, consider Ben Rhodes the champion of the Truck Series this year? I mean, I'll leave that up to you guys, because I don't. I simply don't. I think this was the biggest, this is going to be one of the biggest black eyes on the sport for a long time. This was awful. This was the most awful championship thing I've ever seen, quite possibly in any sport. And I hate to be a bummer about it, but I have nothing positive to say about this race. It was absolute trash. It was a dumpster. It was just a dumpster fire. Like, yeah. So yeah. Sorry for being negative. Like, I've got nothing positive to say about this.